Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is the July 23rd East Long Meadow High School School Building Committee meeting. Welcome. I think we have a few people that might be in the audience, so we just have to bring into meeting.
Here comes Kim.
Okay. Kathy, Kim. I block. No. Need stronger glasses. That's why I'm squinting. Comes with age once you get over 50.
We'll talk about it.
I fought it for a long time.
Yeah.
Glad I could be in a public meeting sharing that. All right, is that everybody, Mr. Mackey?
Well, that's who's so here so far.
Okay. All right. Well, that gives us. I mean, we
Kathy, Kim, and Victoria, and Eric.
beautiful. Okay. At your places, if you're in person, and attached to the calendar invitation, there were a copy of the minutes from May 30th. If people want to quickly make sure that they have it and have had a chance to peruse it, and I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Okay. Right. I was waiting a second.
Was.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, so we have a motion and a second, and I'll do a roll call vote. And I'm a yes. Did Ms. Blair make it in, Mr. Mackey?
Not yet?
Not yet, okay. Mr. Page?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Hill?
Yes.
Right, Ms. Marjorie Boucher is absent. Mr. Fenny is absent. Ms. LeBar?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
And Mr. Christensen hasn't made it in yet. He had indicated he might be remote.
Not yet.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
And Mr. Quimby?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any no's? Did I miss anybody? Okay, those pass. Thank you. Mr. Mackey, do we have anybody online for public participation?
We do not.
Okay. Then we'll move into the update, and I think Skanska is kicking us off.
Sure.
Thank you. Welcome. You need, you need your special slides.
Oh, me, Gordon. Come on. Yeah, so we'll start off with the schedule, folks. We have basically a summarized schedule here of the MSBA milestones and some of the bidding activities. Fontaine will later be going through some of the other things that have been going on with the the site enabling work. But I highlighted in the yellow kind of the more significant milestones. So we're here today to obviously approve the 60% CD construction document submission to MSBA. The last couple of weeks, we've spent finishing up the deliverables for the submission, digging into the documents, and completing our estimate reconciliation process. So once we get approval today, we will be submitting the package to MSBA on Thursday. And then also concurrently, Fontaine will be bidding out the early release package number 2, which consists of site, concrete, steel, and elevator. So once again, this is some of the work that's coming up this fall, then winter, some of the longer lead time items, I guess, as well. And then we'll also, the design team will be working right into the 90% construction document phase. If you go down into the second cluster of yellow down there, you'll see SBC approval of the 90% CD submission. So at this meeting, but for the 90% drawings, we will need to select a date. I don't know if we want to do that at this meeting. Might make sense, and then we can change if needed. We could do that perhaps at the end of the meeting.
And that submission is October?
Correct. So the 90% CD submission goes in on October 29th.
Okay.
And we'll need kind of like this process, we'll need the time before that to kind of get the estimate ready and everything, a little bit of time to present to you folks. If there are any, considerations financially to be done then. And then we have a pretty short window for submitting it to MSBA right after that. And then after 90% goes in, we have the early release package number 3, which consists of MEP, so mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection. Once again, some of these items are identified by the project team to have some long lead time with them, and also we need them just basically to get started because we're working. Then we'll go on to finish the construction documents. Early December. That's what we're estimating for completion of those, and then we'll bid out the rest of the work. So that's just the summarized schedule. Go to the next one, Gordon. Okay. So I touched on the estimate reconciliation process. So I'm happy to report that we are still on budget. We met with PM&C, the design team's estimator, as well as Fontaine's estimating crew. Was that 2 weeks ago? You can see originally, right down in the middle here, where it says initial DD estimates. Both estimates were slightly over what our construction value was in the project funding agreement. So in the project funding agreement, the total construction value was $147,537,913. So that we're slightly over. We went through the estimate reconciliation process, trued up numbers, and we did end up exercising some value engineering items. I think Dory will go through those later, but nothing was truly sacrificed in terms of program or goals. And so if you see at the bottom where the red box is, that's the reconciled estimate. So 147, 517, 845. So we are below the number that's in the project funding agreement. So MSBA would be happy about that. So essentially it doesn't change your budget. You're not giving back money. Essentially what we do for that is just to show the MSBA that we've done our due diligence. We've taken a look at the numbers again. We're further along in the process. We're closer to bid time, and we're still coming up with numbers that are aligned with our budget.
Why's Fontaine over budget?
That's just where they were at. And I told them I was good with the PM&Cs for the reconciled estimate. We always use theirs. So I figured we switch it up. But I think this.
Ultimately, we have to be on budget. There's no choice.
Yeah, there's not. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're reporting to MSBA is that we are on budget. So you can see post DD reconciliation at the bottom there. We're at 147,517,845. We think that's incorporative of the full project. We think we have some healthy allowances. The work's well defined and everything. So
then 60% CDs, not DD.
Sorry.
Don't put us backwards.
Sorry.
I kept looking at it like, is he giving us a recap of the recap? Anyway, just for the crowd.
Yes, sorry about that. Misspoke.
It's okay. We know what you meant.
So like I said, nothing changes with the rest of the budget. You're locked in with where you were at with the project funding agreement. So we'll be updating the project 3011 with these numbers, submitting them to MSBA for their review. We'll be repeating this process again for the 90% construction document submission. That's about it.
Questions?
Any questions on the budget process?
Yeah, this one doesn't like you. Sorry.
Okay, so blue one. All right, we're good. We'll move on to the design update. Mr. Mackey, you may have, and maybe you've already brought them in, Mr. Crucial and Ms. Blair.
Yep.
Okay, and Mr. Christensen too? Okay, great.
Everybody.
Well, just got the schedule update, so you miss Ben's favorite slide there.
Do we, while we're on it, want to try to target a school building committee meeting for September?
Sure.
Yeah.
So just to bring everybody up to speed, we're looking in this meeting to finalize the submission to MSBA for the 60% completion of construction documents. And thank you. And then in October, we're going to have to submit the 90% completion to MSBA of construction documents, CD versus DD.
Also good.
Okay, got it. So if everybody can pull out their calendars, we're looking for something in the week before?
You want the 28th then?
Well,
So looking at this and it's kind of crammed.
Yeah.
End of October. I don't know if we're going to need that time in order to get everything ready. So I'm thinking that's a Tuesday. Monday is the 28th, huh?
It's pretty tight.
Yeah.
Should we just hold that date?
Hold the Monday and see what we can shake out.
Because, yeah, we are set for the 29th.
Yeah.
What we,
You have to submit on the 29th?
Yeah.
And that's what we, does the
Doesn't hold
28th
them.
give you enough?
Well, I think then we also have the sort of ripple of, it's like, I think you all are taking off the next package in 2 days after that, right? So
Yeah.
we all have to be sure we have the time here.
Do we need a meeting before the October 28th?
I think we will. I just wanted to, this one.
lock this one in.
Lock this one.
Because it's a like this one's not a Thursday,
Mhm.
which is our typical.
Right, yeah.
3 o'clock, 28th?
If we can make that work, I mean, and if there's a
Clock
way,
works for folks on screen?
Yes, I'm good.
At 3 o'clock on the 28th. We'll lock that in.
October.
September.
yes.
Correct.
Yep.
October.
That work for you, Don?
You're tired.
Won't be here.
Oh, so it definitely works for you.
You can be in the gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll probably be sitting right here.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the change up, but it's part of schedule, so
Sure.
it was linked.
And do we do 2 estimates at 90% or reconcile? I know in the past in some other jobs, we've just done like a check.
Often it is just one check, yeah.
Yeah, and
So much of it is.
I think it really matters what Fontaine's number is then, yeah.
So are you saying that maybe we don't need all that time for the estimating and?
Well, I think still gonna need 3-4 weeks, I would think, but,
I think we still want it to, because I think it's good to go over any final VE that happened in case there's any concerns, but
Yeah, the process would be the same from our side, and we could even do kind of not so much a reconciliation, since there might not be another estimator, but walking through the detail and things have gone up and down. So
yeah.
we'll hold kind of a similar process.
so we say we're just gonna do one estimate, is that,
Yeah, I think.
I'm
I'll
comfortable.
double check, but I'm pretty sure that's within the MSBA.
Is there any MSBA
I'll check.
requirement? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so move into design update.
So just to follow up on that process a little bit from our side. So we are about to submit the 60% set pending this meeting and this vote. Things have gone really well through this set. The set looks great. I want to shout out to the structural team for getting us to, it's a sort of accelerator for them because there's going to be concrete and steel purchased off of this set. And they did a really great job. As a whole, the packages come together very well. I feel like it's really proven itself, the team that you all selected and how everything's worked. I think this VE was actually all fairly reasonable. So it's you kind of want there to be some things that you can kind of work with and to be sure that you're staying on budget. So the decisions that we made in that reconciliation to be sure we stayed on budget were to have our lighting team reduce the cost of the lighting. This was the first time we'd had the full lighting package
Is that
priced out.
throughout the entire school?
Yeah, and that's really again. So the lighting is in first pass at like what we want. A lot of room to make revisions of that. So it's in no way a performance concern at all. The package was a little expensive, we felt, and could easily be brought down in comparison to other projects. Lighting costs, anything electrical tends to go up fairly dramatically. So you often don't know until you get to this point where that's going. So there's no concern in the team at all on how that's going to play out. We feel fine about that. We had talked about gunshot detection in our review of security opportunities in different systems. It's a fairly new system. There was a lot of hesitation about it. When we talked to police and fire, they were curious to get that, get the number on it, but we're not, sure it was a good idea anyway. So that didn't feel like a hard thing to cut.
If I remember correctly, police weren't
They weren't,
sure that it
yeah,
was going to be
yeah. There's
that much of a benefit.
exactly. So for that cost, it was an easy take. The theatrical lighting package is substantial, and I'm constantly working with our team to try and rein their their enthusiasm in. They want to be sure that the auditorium can do anything possible. So an $80,000 cut from that package is not a big deal at all. And they're going to make it happen. And, they may mope a little bit, but they'll get there. It's not a problem. The rails, that was a design team. We had complex rails that we could simplify in 2 of the stairs, to make it a little cheaper. So they were looking at a system that just didn't need to be as complicated as it is. We eliminated some casework that was requested for the OTPT room, which is a room the school doesn't currently have. So that's a room where students go in for therapy. It has a swing and padding. And that means that we'll just be replacing with open shelving from the furniture purchase, which is a lot cheaper and easier to do and more flexible.
Built-ins, right?
So those were built-ins, yeah. So they're a higher price element. And that's not a staffed room. That's a room that people are going into and using flexibly. So it seemed an easy place to take. We had at DD had porcelain tile as their primary tile in the lobby area, and had been discussing with Fontaine the possibility of getting a price for terrazzo tile, not full terrazzo, but terrazzo tile. That cost came up in $100,000 more than the previous. We have the mud bed to allow the porcelain tile at large format. So that felt like just frankly, $100,000 we could do away with.
That'll hold up.
Yeah. They're both very good. They're just different approaches. I think, Bruce was a fan of the terrazzo. So we thought and that's not something we've typically done in that environment, but there are schools that go with that. So we thought we'd give it a try, but it was higher in cost than we expected. We had 3 different rubber flooring finishes in 3 different PE spaces. In the weight room, we had a very nice but like pliable that allows you to drop weights. It's particularly helpful if you have a 2-story building. We do not. We're on slab, so we actually simplified that to a flooring that's less expensive because that's a pretty expensive flooring. And we decided to keep the alt PE room with the same type of flooring because we had this discussion early on that the alt PE room was originally wood. Then we moved to rubber because it became news to us that the swim meets would use that as a sort of overflow space. And nobody wanted water on that floor. So we switched to rubber. And now we've united those, all the rubber in the PE wing. So we have rubber also in the locker rooms. It's the same, type of rubber flooring that will consistently and be treated the same. So that was a small change, but just a design change.
There aren't basketball hoops in that room. That's
No.
Okay.
No, it's more of a mat type floor, multi-purpose. And then we had the cafeteria. It was not a high goal, but it was generally a thought, well, if we could make the cafeteria a presentation space, we'd have one more presentation space. But the cafeteria in that big area is very bright. So we had tried it with a projector and we're not happy with the results of that. So then we tried a video wall, and the cost of the video wall is $110,000. And it's not an easy environment to work in, and it's not really been an ask. So I talked to Frank and he agreed that would be a really low priority issue. So
How big was that?
how big was the wall? Quite big. Like it was about 14 feet high by, 19.
Now what we saw in Connecticut.
Yeah.
We had gone down to the showroom. And
Yeah.
it was massive.
And there's really what are you going to do with it? Your digital display signage has a lot of money for, we're having meatloaf today,
Verbal parties. Yeah, totally.
We'll still have a very nice sound system in that space. And if we wanted, we could put, a couple of the wall displays up. I started thinking that having video while you're eating lunch isn't really helpful for kids.
Don't
Frank addresses the students every lunch. This would be a video portion of
Right. It would be like
through the video.
said room. Yeah. So Frank will have a wireless mic system and he can still,
Serenade them.
serenade them. Yes. And then to stay on budget, we took 150. We made a goal of reducing our site package by $150,000, and you'll see that is always a tempting way to keep on budget because it's a very late decision. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to do that right now. there's a lot of design contingency between now and 90. So I think the drawings are looking really good. So I actually don't expect that we're going to have to do that. But we have some loose furniture. We have a lot of plantings. We also have, and I wanted to bring this up because we kept in the budget, and this is something we've been looking for feedback on. And we shared information about this, that a school building sign on the road, most districts typically would have an LED portion of that sign. You have an ordinance against that. So we reached out to Tom and Gordon and Frank to ask, do you want the messaging to be LED, but within the site? Like the way the site plan works, and we'll bring up that plan again, you enter the site and then you kind of split. So there's sort of a natural Y in the site, where the two roads come together going in and out, where we could put that messaging LED sign as a one-way facing sign so that you could still use it for messaging, which the schools often want to do.
Because it's on the campus story and not on the road, is that the difference?
Right,
Okay.
right. Or Tom said if you wanted, we could go for the variance. And we weren't sure which way this was going to
I
go.
thought we talked about going with what we have now with the little
Key sign.
letter.
And that's the direction, because that's fine. So I was bringing this up
And
because
it's Frank would know better in terms of where we want to put, if we want to put information on the street,
We'll go for the variance.
I wouldn't go for the variance. No. Why?
I'm an IT guy. I like.
I know you are.
I mean, I'm just thinking of the efficiency of being able to have.
I'm thinking two signs.
I know, but if East Long Meadow has character for a reason, we don't allow LED signs for the town itself to go for a variance. I think it's.
No, I'm not arguing that, but if it's mostly for families coming through and things, then.
Yeah, but we're talking on the street, not at the Y.
I see.
right. So the option being the old fashioned hand system on the street where everybody can see it, or just a nice good masonry sign out there. And then you're on the site and there's an LED that's digitally refreshed and the district can kind of get more.
It is hard to regularly update the sign out by the main road. So
Enjoy your summer. It's nice though. It's up there.
Especially when it's October.
Yeah.
You put calendar things out there though, right? Things that are happening in the community.
I'll say we're not great at it. I mean, it's kind of,
That's what it comes.
So then
it's not something that.
go with the brick
And
out on the street, and whether or not you do the LED, you want the LED in the campus?
It would be great if there like, just like we have with it, if you go into the cafeteria, the hallways, we have those TVs that we update daily.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to do right from your computer. Yeah, one's out front, maybe once a month, get updated right now. So if you want real up-to-date regular information, I think it'd be better to go with some type of computer-based system. And if it's closer to the school,
Okay.
so be it,
so
Do you
the
know how
reason why
far
that's
in?
helpful is that we held in the budget two-sided LEDs. So that's a little cost savings there to take that down to one, which
which would be down by the,
which would be closer to the school between the front and the
And we're budgeted for
visible
brick
space.
sign out front.
Sorry?
We're budgeted for the sign out front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Third Stripe Landscaping was donating that one.
Can't advertise.
yeah, I don't want to say that. It's quite up front. So
It's still close
we can
enough.
explore pulling it further back just to be sure we're not in any, see what the town's limitation is. But that's helpful right there. So that's the kind of thing. Good to have you all in the room so you can get one answer at once. So thank you. That was it on the VE. And Eric was here to hear that answer about the sign. That's helpful too. Moving forward, Eric is with us again tonight because we wanted also to raise the question of the site alternates that we have been pricing as we've gone along. So the goal of getting sod and irrigation everywhere has been there all along, and we've been collecting those numbers as we go. And the resolve cost estimate does not include those, but that, we haven't expected them to. But we wanted to chat with Dave in the room here a little bit about the sequence by which things are purchased and how that might become possible, because there's times when it's easier and better to make these decisions than others. So
While we're talking about that, I was contacted by a group that potentially wants to raise funds to the turf on the baseball fields.
Mhm.
We're talking $1 million, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Each.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it will happen, but if it were to happen, what would be the timeline that we would need to know that by?
So let's start, if it's okay. I feel like what would be helpful is to go through the alternates that we've been tracking, talk about their value and how they should be addressed or brought together, because I think Eric's brought some good points that you also want. If you're going to do sod, you want irrigation. You don't want to do sod and not irrigation. So maybe we should really think this through in terms of the chunks.
We not currently budgeted for irrigation?
We have, so I'll show you here.
Partial.
Partial, right, that's right.
So on screen, if you go to the next slide. So we have a handful of alternates here. One is this storage shed, which.
So the thing we need to keep in mind, by law, you have to take these in order. So
Yep.
if this is alternate 1, you have to take that before you take alternate 2.
Did we already
You gotta
put,
take alternate 3, you gotta take alternate 1 and 2 first.
we already put these in order?
If we can, so John, if it's totally non-filed and it doesn't impact any of the trade bidders, then we
I
should
don't know about that, but
have a little more
I can look into that, but
leeway.
I think something like sod, I would approach as a unit price per square yard, square foot or whatever.
Or we can do it as like a letterhead alternate with, say, the landscape subcontractors and, get a price from them. I think if it affects the trade bidders, that we've got to set an order and take them in order. I think if we can keep it on the non-trade side of things, we may be able to. We can check into that.
Did we, as a building committee, when we submitted budget, vote these in order?
No, we didn't. We're just doing tracking this for cost at this
So
point.
at some point, we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming up real soon.
We have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Douglas, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And again, my understanding is the same, that we, in our 3011, track it as trade alternates and non-trade alternates. That's where we can distinguish here, like this storage shed. It's just a prefab shed.
Yep.
If there's electrical in it, then it becomes, more complicated.
There likely would be some with,
Yeah.
right? It's got some tie-in and electric. So that's certainly one on the trades that we'd want to consider. But I think the conversation is relevant to, the alternates, the landscape, and seeing like what the priorities are in the district. And then
So let's go to the next slide just to remind everybody of area.
So we are doing a field at Mount Greylock with the sod and no irrigation.
You are.
They have a well, so that's a problem. But we bought one of the water buffaloes so they can water it manually.
So Eric, do you want to talk through the slides that you shared with me to be sure we're presenting this correctly?
Absolutely. Thanks, Dory. Eric Vangsness, landscape architect with SMMA. Sorry, we got a couple of people talking in the background if there's some background noise. So right now we have the varsity baseball, the varsity softball, JV football, soccer and boys lacrosse, and soccer and girls lacrosse. Those 5 fields are proposed to have an irrigation system with. And so that totals about 390,000 square feet. The system will be designed that it could be expanded either now or in the future to cover the remaining fields in this area, which would be the JV baseball and softball fields with that outfield overlay, and then that javelin and throw and practice area. So what you see in the light cyan color is not proposed to be irrigated under the base bid, and it's about 220,000 square feet, but it could be. There's the potential that it could be. So that is what we're calling alternate S2. You want to go through all these, or do you want to just take these one by one?
You want to go to the next slide?
Yep.
Okay. So then the next one, alternate S3, is right now all of the natural turf athletic fields in the project scope are to receive loam and seed. There's no proposed sod. So this particular alternate would be to sod everything you see in green, which is about 610,000 square feet. And you can see that list of fields. It's all the fields we just discussed. Anywhere that's not shown in green would still be seeded because those are more, just kind of perimeter areas, not really tied to the the athletic field itself. So one option is to sod all of them. And then if you go to the next one, another option would be to just sod the ones that are going to receive irrigation under the base bid, which are these 5 fields. So that's kind of what we had been tracking to date. I don't know that, given that the soils out here, you know, they do drain well. There's a pretty good sand component to them. I don't know that I would recommend that you sod the fields that aren't going to have an irrigation system. It's not to say that it couldn't be done, but typically when you're not going to have an irrigation system, seeding a field tends to be a little bit more successful because instead of the roots already being established in, you know, a sod farm condition and then trying to latch on to whatever soil they're being placed on, you have the seed that, you know, that root system begins in the soil that it's going to live in. So you tend to get a better root system under those conditions. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Eric, have you established the difference between seed and sod in terms of availability of the fields? What season, what year?
You know, usually it's it's usually, you know, 2 years if you seed.
2 growing seasons or 2 years?
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
And then do we know the cost? When's that coming up?
Yeah.
Okay. Between the 3?
Yeah. So the irrigation was priced out by Fontaine at 184,000
Or the half of that, or these?
for the additional irrigation. Yeah. But some of it's already in base.
Everything that's in green?
Everything. If you go back to
Wasn't that teal?
ST, yeah, it's the teal colored, lighter colored blue. There you go. That addition to the irrigation would be 184.
What's the original cost for the dark blue?
I'll take
Probably a little more than that, 250 or something.
Yeah, I mean, roughly you get a sense. Yeah.
And then
That's in. Right.
cost for the
Cost for the
seed
blue is
versus
already
dirt.
So then doing all of the sod that is needed is 695,000. And then that lesser amount of sod is 456,000.
It's like $2 a foot now, isn't it?
Is that on top of the existing seeding budget?
No, I think that
That replaces it?
Yeah.
What's the seeding budget?
It's a little.
again, I'd have to go back into the
Yes.
details and that.
I know.
So I assume that number takes out typically that's so
So it's that much more than the seed.
Correct.
correct.
So you're looking at about 2 full growing seasons for a seeded field. You're looking at about a month, give or take. You're looking at about a month if the field is sodded, and the roots have grabbed.
Is it fair to say then fall of 27 if we sodded and fall of 28 if we seeded? Roughly?
Dory, I don't have the schedule memorized. When, in theory, would the fields be installed?
26, right?
No, because we're still gonna have this building in fall of 26.
Spring.
Bring it 27.
27 now.
So if you sodded it, theoretically, you could use it in the fall 27. If you seed it, then spring 28.
Oh, so we only gain 1 season?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't think.
Well,
Sorry. So it would be, you'd probably have it late fall of 26 with sod in the back of those, right? And then if you had fall, spring, you'd be into kind of probably fall sports season of the following year. If you're saying 2 full growing seasons with seed.
Well, you'd have,
We're not building the varsity fields until 27, correct? It won't be open until fall of 27 because this building isn't coming down until after
Right. So I was talking
the back ones.
behind, yeah.
And lacrosse, those fields would be done.
Yeah, our goal, I mean, we're trying to, ideally we'll move out right? And try and turn them over, obviously, as quickly as we can. But I think that when you're those areas, the varsity baseball, varsity softball, the last areas that are going to be done, you're going to be into that next fall season.
From 27. I mean, if we're only gaining one season.
I don't think you need to make this decision now. I think we carry them as alternates, or I think a better way would be unit prices.
Part of what I think we were thinking about doing is that it would be helpful for Fontaine to get prices on this, not as a base, but, have that information at hand so that if buying that package out, there's any latitude there, it becomes kind of apparent to us.
Yep.
And we have some locked.
Right now, you don't have the money, so you got to hope that you have contingency left, right? So,
Understood.
Right.
Well, we want to prioritize. And so whether or not this is one or not one is relevant to the question of when we get to use the fields, I would say.
Yeah, big picture, I think. So the MSBA set that's coming out shortly on the 60%, we're going to procure the site work off of that, right? So obviously the site work ties into these components in differing ways depending on the alternates. If it's seed versus sod, like exclusively, we can really wait to make that decision for some time because, that's the sub base is the same, the loam layer is the same. The irrigation decision, depending on, the interest in that, we can wait, a little bit longer on that because we can put in sleeves under roadways. Like we'd accommodate, so you're going to get the service out there, but we don't need to go do the actual work for a couple of years. But if it's a significant consideration that's going to stay in play, we'd want to spend some money up front to put in sleeves, to put in some of the pre-work, even if you were going to use it at a later time.
But that would be an alternate as well, the additional sprinklers, the light blue.
Yeah, correct. So if all this is on the table to consider, depending on, as you get towards the end of the project, you have contingency money and we know that, then we would accommodate by putting in sleeves. So you might spend $15,000 to make sure that you're not digging up, paved areas later to get sleeves out for water service, right? But again, those decisions can happen as the project progresses. Contingency are a little bit clearer. The question on the turf versus natural grass, that one will become a little bit more urgent quicker because the sub base that goes under that is significantly different, right? So if you're building a turf field, you're putting anyway, I don't know if it's Eric's on like 10 inches, 12 inches of processed gravel. You have these herringbone drains. So that work, even though it's not going to want to happen until much later in the project, that's going to affect from the site contractor's perspective how they can reuse, like say that they have a bunch of natural material that they would put under the varsity baseball field. If that material is not going to have a home because it's going to be processed material to build those turf fields, then when they bid the work, they're going to want to know that because that affects how much material they have to plan on bringing in, shipping out, all that stuff. So I don't think there's any decisions to be made today. I think it's get this information. We've priced it, right? Continue having conversations, about your priorities. When we come back in about a month with, prices on the site work, and we're going to have, if we are directed to price like those turf fields as an alternate, like with the site contractors, get final pricing on that. Then again, in about, 4 or 5 weeks, we'll be going, hey, let's, pick which option we think is the direction on the turf versus the seed or sod. But seed, sod, irrigation, I think we can continue those conversations till, next year when we finalize the rest of the pricing, getting the 100% documents and everything.
But it's important how we prioritize them in the alternate list.
Let us study that a little bit.
Okay.
And get back to, we can bring that information to like interim between now and that 4 or 5 meetings. Cause it's a lot more sensitive with the trade bidders. Because to John's point, you got to put order in, and that's so that, you can't pick this one instead of that one to shuffle, one bidder to another, et cetera. So we're definitely going to have to be mindful of that, but we can look at it in a more finite way with each of these alternates.
And John, you think $1 million for that varsity baseball potentially?
I do.
Yeah.
I think we did a takeoff on it. We used, was it $7 a foot? it was either $7 a foot or $9 a foot because you're getting some savings. It depends also what you're changing from, right? Like natural grass to whatever. But I think we had worked up something in the $750 range for the varsity baseball and something in the $250 range, $300 for varsity softball because the infield is all dirt anyways. So the footage of turf in the softball is significantly less than baseball. So yeah, I think with those two changing, it's, you know, the fields, it's probably in that neighborhood. But, you know, again, we can get into more.
So you're saying, Dave, then for the 2 million varsity softball, baseball?
I think it's in that neighborhood, yeah, based on our quick takeoffs and just comparing some recent histories of changing, you know, you're buying the turf, you're changing the gravel. But that's also going to be a little bit impacted by we're doing some more investigation out here this week about the depth of the topsoil, because what we're encountering so far is actually a little bit deeper than some of the original borings. So even that number is going to change based on what we find for depth there, because we couldn't, you know, we'll need to export more. You know, it's all kind of in process, but in the next couple of weeks, we can have numbers on all those.
Great, thanks.
When do we have to finalize the alternate list? Do we have to do that before the 90%?
Yes.
Yeah, you'll want to do it before the 90s because some of the MEP trades are going to be procured off the 90s.
Okay.
So I mean,
Again, if the only thing that really is relevant to that is a $60,000 shed, I would say that if it's a priority to get the shed, the reason I'm bringing it up is because we want to revisit your priorities and know what your priorities are and make it happen for you.
This is
as easily as we can.
Equipment.
Yes, this is just exterior storage. I'm not quite. Eric, this storage shed that we're talking about, where is it going to be located in the plan? Is that also to the recreational field side?
That's a great question. I mean, I think we haven't picked a final location because it hasn't been in the scope yet. So we'd have to find something that works with setbacks and stuff like that. I couldn't give you an exact location.
How did they find number one? Kevin McGee manipulating this
The numbering.
Yeah. But
As
again,
noted.
it's helpful to know whether that's, because it's such a small number, frankly, I think that it could be dealt with as we're in the middle of all this on contingency and prioritizing it now.
There's storage in the building we're building, the restroom,
Concessions, yeah.
Yeah, concessions building.
but not enough, Frank, we're thinking.
Not
What I requested.
I believe that this is probably more towards the opposite side, but I'm not sure, recall. That's what I recall. Because there was that concern about how far it is between these
Yeah.
locations. Eric, the size of the shed, I can pull it up.
Greg, one of the things I was requesting, I don't know if this is it, is storage sheds out in the fields of the stadium area to replace all of these storage containers that we have out there, which
Yeah.
kind of looks like
Makes sense.
junkyard.
I think that is, this was too.
That's what this is.
It should be.
Because
Yeah,
we can't have this campus with all of these new renovations going in and still have those out there.
Is that how it got to number one?
I could have them.
Yeah, I think this one is, I think we've been carrying a 10 by 30, which is what, you know, this picture was sort of looking to represent. But so we were carrying about a 10 by 30. I don't know if that necessarily gives you, you know, completely replaces all of the shipping containers that are out there today. You might have more than that, but it was something more than what you had. So.
Okay.
All right.
Does that give you the information you needed in terms of that turf question?
In terms of when?
No, the turf question, you were raising that. So that was news to us about the idea.
Yeah, it just came up last week. I had a phone call about it and they seem pretty serious about it. I don't know, $1 million is a high hill to climb. So they would have to find that pretty quick.
That's but her field too.
No, that's sort of both, right? RC and JV. So all I wanted to be able to tell them is we need to know by this date which way we're going.
What's the question?
Are we talking sod or artificial turf? What do you?
Artificial. And that's a decision that we have to even make as a committee if that's what we want. I mean, there are no other towns that have it as far as
Kind of fundraise, I would prioritize other things like.
Well, it's the baseball group.
They should do the varsity. Why do they need JV field
Well,
too?
they don't want to do big JV. They want to do potentially varsity and softball.
Oh, okay, guys.
I think
Well,
the other thing that would have to get looked at is
I'm sorry.
historically, you can't just take third-party money into the project.
Okay.
What would happen is it typically affects what the MSBA is going to put in the project.
They did.
But they changed the rules on
Yeah,
that.
I'm not sure
I
if that
just don't
would
know
fit into
how
there. I don't want
it-
to speak to it,
yeah,
but they recently did just change their policy regarding third-party funding so that
It did.
each projects can actually go through. But we could look into how that.
Yeah.
Sure.
It gets, as you can imagine, what would happen. People are like, hey, I'm going to pay for this. And, and
Traditionally, it would have been, they
It
would
was
claw back at you,
challenging.
right? So,
Yeah.
but
So just something to be aware of because there will be other complications,
Yeah.
And
Because there are no free lunches
Yeah.
or free money.
yeah. But it's good to raise this now because after we're fully into construction and out of bidding, new ideas like that tend to get even more expensive because there's a lot of stuff that gets added in that everybody gets to price again. So, okay. Does that help everybody to get some information there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should really consider irrigating the whole campus because we get a lot of use on these fields all year long. And the healthier they are, the better they're going to be. So to have half of it fry out, I don't know.
Yeah.
So the irrigation is more of a priority than necessarily the sod. Sod's just an.
Well, prolongating the season, yeah, I would say.
If you're looking long-term, and I would agree that I'd rather irrigate than sod.
And just our experience with fields and grass areas in this area, the irrigation is a good investment. I mean, we all know from our own lawns and everything, unless you're able to consistently control the water, you got to be prepared to hand water. It's, we've seen that clients who've done it generally are very happy with having it.
Yeah. And like I said, we're short on fields in this town anyway, so they are used around the clock.
So it sounds like it makes sense. We have aqueous design.
Yeah.
Doing the irrigation system design. And as Eric noted, the system is sized to accommodate, future expansion, but we probably should have them go ahead and design it so that we do have whatever information is needed once you get numbers back.
Yeah, I'd like
we
to
just know where the sleeves go and how it gets expanded. So you know what you're.
That was 184,000.
Yeah. And that way we'll give Fontaine a more detailed package here so that they can get an even more granular number as a part of their bidding out the site package.
That's basically this slide, 610,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so now we're moving on to CM updates. Yeah.
Are those going to be our 4 alternates then? Is that what we're saying? Not in order necessarily yet, but not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
There could be more.
You could add, if there's a reason, typically the alternate thing is hanging over everybody's heads historically from the hard bid process, right? But this isn't a hard bid job, it's a CM job. And a lot of what we're able to do in this cost reconciliation process is figure out, okay, how do we make this work? So often you just want to be sure that if you're gonna bid those hard bids and you're gonna go over, you have some way to be sure you're staying on budget. So I don't think we have yet come up with, there aren't a lot of things here that are standing out. Like PV might have been one, right? We could easily have a sort of a relief valve on our process here by putting PV. I don't know if we feel that there's a strong need for that kind of a relief valve and what it would be in the whole project right now.
What you mean?
Yeah, so you might have a deduct alt handy to be sure you make it, because if you're over budget, then
Well, we're going to know that though.
blown the bid. Right. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a critical issue. We've been very aligned on budget throughout this process. We're in a CM relationship. I don't really see a need to come up with alternates by taking things that we know you want and putting them on a list magically and reporting them to the MSBA because we don't really have any anxiety right now about that. I don't think you do either.
No, I think that, they're called alternates here in we can estimate 1 million alternates, right? Like a lot, it's like you could call each VE one an alternate. So I think this use of the word alternate, as Dory said, doesn't necessarily translate to that being broadcast to all the bidders that way.
Yeah.
Like these are alternate strategies we're looking at as a group. Let us know what your preferences are, the push-pull. We'll finalize the pricing. And then in turn with that, we'll work with Dory and John and the team on what the most efficient, compliant procurement strategy is for that. And there may or may not end up being some alternates that go to the MEP bidders, but the scope of work that impacts the MEP bidders as it relates to the, items that you're considering is minimal.
Okay.
Right? Like a lot of times we're looking at like a custom, built, like say the concession building was an alternate. That's got to be its own documented alternate because that affects every trade, mason, concrete, site work, MEPs. This type of stuff we can deal with, as we go.
Yeah.
And blend it into the project as we need to.
And Greg, just to jump back to the information about that. So I did look into the project advisory 83, which is specific to third party funding. And just to save you the whole paragraph, it does seem that they would not lower the basis of the grant due to the donation. So we can run that by them, but it does seem that was a recent update that could play out in your favor. So.
And are we going to estimate that? Get an estimate?
We don't have drawings to estimate on
Okay.
that. I mean, so I'd say the better direction at this point is to give you comparable numbers from other projects.
Yeah.
Just so you have some basis, because it's a lot of work to put together a drawing package for a turf field. So I think have priced this out recently on another project with Fontaine. So we have some sense from that one. I'm sure you guys have done multiple turf fields. So maybe we could, look at the area of that. And again, varsity and softball are the priority goals there. Okay. Yep. So.
That.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's just a hangover slide from previously, but I thought it'd be helpful to remind people where we are.
Yeah, so Ben talked a little bit in the kind of waterfall schedule of the early packages coming up. So he touched on those trades, but big picture on that is we're looking to essentially hit the ground running like as soon as school comes back. Once the enabling package stuff kind of dies down, we'll get the gonna call it the permanent site guy signed up, and he'll be out here starting up. And sooner than you think, we'll probably start doing some foundation work out back. So that's really the goal of that. And the next early package, the big push is getting all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing subs on board. Twofold, it drives the procurement process, but also the kind of coordination process. So as we have all the structural stuff going on, hopefully we can feed that coordination information to those subs that we already have signed up. So I don't really have much more to say on early packages outside of that.
Can you remind us a due date for early package 2? Do you have that in your head?
It's of our bidders.
Of our bidders.
Package 2 for
Right now, it's
Yeah.
August.
It's like 1 August, but we think that's going to get pushed out because I don't, by the time we get everything back, the updated MSBA revised drawings, they're probably going to have like a week, which to me just seems tight.
Okay.
So
early August is
Yeah.
the goal.
Yeah. Numbers by probably like early mid-August would be more reasonable than like 1 August, which is what we have on the schedule.
Okay.
And the priority there is really going to be the site guy, concrete guy, then the steel guy. So it's not going to be like, all right, it's mid-August, they're all signed up. Each one of them's going to have a little bit of a kind of lag to it.
And we have that transition point from the early site enabling contractor. We extended their work out through kind of mid-September so that the fields that we couldn't take for the summer concert series, some of that work can continue after school comes back. So we kind of have a little buffer where we'll have a site contractor still here, and then the full site probably before September or early September with them on board so we can transition them.
And depending on how bids play out, that could be one and the same, right?
Could be.
Yeah, it could be. Jags already has his stuff here. There's got to be more something.
Yeah. It's got to be a little bit.
Be aggressive.
Already got all his toys. Touch that.
Yeah, so we started work at the front parking lot. The water line from the meter pit down to the right-hand side of the loop road is in. They're going to start crossing that loop road this week. The drainage at the front end of the parking lot is also in and tied in. That also has to go and cross in front of the tennis court. So that's going to start happening this week. We are going to close down that horseshoe. We had told you Monday. We're going to close it at the last minute, probably tomorrow, and start pulling the pavement up so that we can have that all prepped and ready. Our pave date for that front loop is the 29th and or 30th. So they're going to get that entire parking lot paved, the loop road that goes along the west side of the site, and hopefully just enough of our parking lot so that we can drop construction trailers by mid-August. And then once they're done paving, we're going to line stripe that and then start to turn that over to you guys. Go to the next slide.
All right.
And then I touched on it. We have that road graded and ready for pavement. A little bit more fence work to do, some scrim to throw up after paving, and we get the Jersey barriers in at the front and some gates established. And then we've stopped adding to the topsoil pile in the lower right corner of this picture, and we seeded that. Talking about whether or not we fence that off to prevent access to it. Wasn't shown on the, but we're looking at that for safety. And then we'll pave up into our construction area, and we're going to pave the area where the dumpsters go outside of central office and up to that door.
Right here.
Right there. And I have pricing to add hardware to the door. Right now, there isn't a card reader or a lock to get back in that door.
Very trusted.
Dumpsters through. Yeah. So probably going to try and add a card reader so that they can go back and forth through that hallway.
Card reader.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
Got a spare one, eh?
Oh, actually, I have a project going on now where we're doing card reader doors. So.
Okay. All right. We can talk. Can you go to the next one?
This one.
All right, so out back, you can see kind of on the left side of the screen, they've been working on just the drainage back there. The gas line that had to be relocated right next to the back of the school, that happened over the weekend, right? Saturday, if I remember correctly.
We finished yesterday.
Yep. So that's all kind of out of the way now. The two large oil tanks were removed. One small hiccup, the larger one, they found like traces of oil in that excavation basically after they took the tank out. OTO took more samples, tons of meetings. Long story short, it seems like it was something kind of left over from when they pulled the original tanks. But we're working with them and the plan kind of moving forward. As we re-excavate that area, we'll just keep taking samples and make sure everything's clean that we're taking out of there.
Because these tanks came out intact
Yeah, and
and in good shape.
the tie down straps on them that keep them from popping out of the ground with groundwater, I mean, they look like they're brand new. You know, and all we chased all the lines that connected to the school, sampled that dirt, nothing. So we really think it's basically just something left in, from when they pulled the old ones, put the new ones in, it kind of got trapped there, which is really the best case scenario for that. So, but we'll keep monitoring it as we go. Right now, just because obviously we didn't want to leave the hole exposed, we lined it with like a poly membrane and then just filled it with loam on site while we're kind of coming up with the plan there. What am I missing out back? That's really it.
We'll have some test pits where the oil tank came out on either side or on all three of the sides, not the fourth. We had the oil tank just to the left of that. So do some additional test pits and with OTO and confirm that probably the edges of the contamination.
And then on test pits, we did a couple inside the footprint of the building, as Dave touched on. We're seeing the kind of the base layer of loam being pretty lots of variation there from sort of the few borings we had. So we will be sort of outside the fence. You'll see a small machine out there just basically doing a couple test pits where we'll scratch it up, put it back together, and then seed it. Our goal with our locations is we're staying out of sort of the playable areas of the fields that are staying in play, but you will see those little kind of like dirt patches, but don't be alarmed, they're on purpose. And I think we're ready for the next slide.
So this is where we're gonna bring the water line comes from the existing fence where the kind of soil is disturbed on the right-hand side there, and it's gonna go between the tennis courts and the existing school. And we're gonna take that back tennis court, kept it online as long as we could.
Take these three.
Those, yeah, the back three.
Yeah.
The water line is gonna go, like I said, between the school and the tennis courts. There's the detention pond is going to go into the back three tennis courts. And then there's a drain line that's going to run from the corner of the parking lot closest to the school, in front of the trees, and then in front of the tennis courts. And then it goes kind of in a diagonal from the corner of the tennis court back towards the stadium. So so we have to that's to tie the drainage from the parking lot into our new temp drainage loop so that we can take out the drainage that runs through the building footprint. So that's all going to get started now, in hopes to have us out of the parking lot before around the 13th of August. And then the 16th, we're going to close off that side field and finish all of that up. If they are able to get in there sooner, we'll do what we talked about previously. We'll cut in just the utilities, and then anything that gets cut open before the end of the summer concert series will get wood chipped over, mulched over, so that it's safe and clean by the end of the day.
And just the last slide is kind of a reminder of what we're shooting for by the time school starts. It'll load. There she is. That kind of looks like the picture. Yeah, so that's really the goal of all this. And I wanted to just kind of in this forum say thank you to Gordon, Frank, and Ryan for all their help this summer. It's exactly kind of what we described. We showed up, started cutting trees down, like you can't put a trailer in place. So the support that we've got has been huge. That really kind of helps us move along. So
Cut slices for the class of 73.
yeah.
You have an issue with temp power.
We don't have it yet. That's our biggest issue.
It's in design with National Grid, and it was to come off of Norden Street. We found out that the three-phase is a little bit further down the road. It's not right at that pole at the corner. So it took a little while. We needed the electrician on board for help with the one line diagram and the loads that they expect during construction. So we got that. It went through National Grid. It's in the design phase. We're supposed to get comments back this week from that. We don't have anything yet.
So that could be months.
Could be.
National Grid, right?
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, we're at their mercy.
We should be done with the design phase, yeah. And then we get the results, we find out what their schedule will be for construction. But yeah.
And that could be considerable, of course, cost if they have to upgrade the overhead, right?
They may have to pull off I think it's 3 poles now. It's at Marshall.
Yeah, it's in that, like the power we need is in that neighborhood. It's just not all the way up to the site. So it's not like
service you need for, I assume that's gonna be for temp heat and everything else in the building?
Yeah, it's the info we gave them was basically to service the whole job. It's not just for the trailers.
They gotta put a pad mount for that, or?
That's what we requested. They basically drop it right at the property line and then we'd run it from there, but we're waiting to hear back on their design.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're somewhat at their mercy.
Well, in the interim, you can work the work you're doing. You can do off generators, right? But
yeah.
How about our trailer? Are you gonna get a generator? For that, or?
Yeah. I mean, worst case scenario, we would just do that. We'd get a generator for the trailers, and then all the site guy, concrete guy, they own all their work on a generator anyway because this happens every job.
How many spaces do we pick up in section 2 there?
A little over 100.
Yeah, I think it's like 120. I thought it went down. We kept moving it around because of the trees we were trying to save. But if you said 110, 115, it's probably safe. Yes. I can get you a hard answer on that.
No, I was just curious. Okay. Thank you. Because we haven't lost any spaces.
Not yet.
Not yet.
You will.
So net though, you're coming out.
Yeah.
Went about the same.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was really the drive of kind of putting that area in place is that as we start picking away at some of the other spaces and you lose 20, 15 at a time with different things, that's more than enough buffer. So, and people will be used to it, that area as it comes online.
And next summer, you will lose that entire number 3 parking lot in its entirety. The only parking will be at the front of the school.
I mean,
Your satellite office on the Cape.
Before or after July 4th.
Steve Pierce is going to be overseeing the summer high school.
Yeah.
That's before July 4th, we said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, Fontaine kills the.
It's out.
Yeah. What are we going to do?
At number 2, we have more spots now than we will when the project is done, correct? If there's no islands, you're not going to have any of that stuff going into this.
That's
Between 2 and 3, yeah, right.
Between 2 and 3 now, you probably have.
we start losing space in
Well,
3.
not 3. I'm just 2 in itself. Like 2 now versus what 2 is going to be next summer is going to be less, right?
I would guess.
So when you start adding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we're getting more back where 3 is.
I just asked,
Yeah.
the number you said was much lower than what you told me originally what number 2 was going to have, which was around 115. And
we'll do a better count.
okay.
You're talking about completion or for?
In completion, it's supposed to be around 115, and I'm assuming we have more spots now because we're not going to have all those islands. So I should be pushing 130 to 140.
In the final phase, that parking lot extends all the way under the footprint of the building.
Forgetting how far.
Yeah.
School's gone.
Okay.
That number 2 is temporary.
Okay.
That 2 is just for the next 2 years.
Building's gone.
Okay. So that lot will actually grow in size.
Yeah.
Because
You get fancier.
Yeah, the building is further back, so you have.
you'll have another building in the dirt area there.
Yeah.
It made me nervous because if that 115 was shrinking to a lower number, it's going to buzz up us.
Central office is taking 40 of those, so.
No, to Danielle's point.
Hunger Games, you guys get 5.
She said 3 comes offline next summer. The reason that's coming offline over the summer is we're basically going to be putting in the permanent parking. So there'll still be parking over there. It'll be a little less. And then once we flip flop, bring the new building online, that number 2 and the old building goes away and then more
pushes
will be there. Yeah.
Parking lot back. I forgot about that. Okay.
Are there plans to ask St. Michael's for some help or some relief if we have to have summer school and things next summer?
My plan was to move summer school to Birchland next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even better.
I haven't told Steve that.
Even for the parade.
Will,
For the parade.
correct me if I'm wrong, but you will have number 2 next summer.
Yeah. 2 of these online.
So-
yeah, there'll be 100 something
To the
spots.
here, you can still have 100
That's letting
here all summer.
whatever that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not doing any work in lot 2 next year?
No.
No.
Lot 2 was so that we can take away lot 3 next summer.
Yeah.
So you'll have all of lot 2, which looking at how much parking you have here for a normal summer school day, you'll have.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
50, 60 spots. So I could potentially utilize this building this summer. That's good to know. I assumed that was all offline.
We.
No, that's really why that was a big priority this summer. So it would leave you guys kind of a swing space when we take the larger lot.
So when does lot 2 get converted? Is that going to be summer 20?
Summer of 26.
Yeah. Okay.
You will have the new version of lot 3 to access the,
Lot 2 will be in transition.
you will not have the existing school and the new school will not have a TCO, full TCO yet.
TCO means.
Temporary.
So summer of 26 needs some careful consideration of who and where everyone will be.
Because summer of 26, the day you guys get out of school, I'm going to ask you if I can cut the power to your building and start knocking it down. But the new building won't be ready to move into until the end of
It's going to have a lot of people over at his place.
That would be the summer we might locate to Birchland.
Yes.
Correct.
I'm going to move it back a year. Everybody vote.
Yeah.
Like Campbell Lake.
That's all right. You'll be in the dark. I'll enjoy the silence.
Yeah. Yeah, that summer is the real crunch when it comes to space here, but it's essentially the building is completely coming offline the minute you guys will hand it over to us.
Okay, yeah.
So that means IT, we got to think about IT moving.
Yeah.
I'll just
Right.
figure it out.
Start August 15th.
Yes,
No.
I'm in.
Okay. I'll quote you on
Take away
that.
February breaks, take it all the way. We'll get on May. Yeah, there won't be new furniture and
Be temporary occupancy, so like the IT department could move into that new building.
so there, we will not have a TCO yet.
Yeah.
We will not have furniture yet. We will not have, furniture doesn't come until June, end of
Yeah.
June. So there is a
There's a window.
month and a half where this will not be here and that won't be ready.
And we here will be in the dark.
For the sake of like
I was gonna say, that sounds like
TCO with like IT and
How
stuff,
big is your trailer outside?
when your crew essentially fall under like the workforce. So, if you guys have the proper PPE, hard hat, you can go in and get in the server rooms, do what you need to do before T.
Yeah.
That's not a big.
Trust me, once you get to know me, I don't follow rules.
Yeah, so it's not that the building's like not accessible.
Access to everything.
When's the, when's the CO date?
Whether or not your IT rooms are built out
July 30th.
ready,
Yeah.
IT is running, network running in the
July 30th.
in-
SC,
needs to be clean before you start up your equipment. And so,
July.
that sort of happens a little bit later and we probably
F&E.
need your support at that point.
We won't be here, so
Yeah,
we'll have plenty of time.
yeah.
Before the paving for your trailers, should we get conduit in for the fiber to the trailers?
A good idea.
When are you paving?
29th, 30th.
Next week?
Yeah.
Well, it's just gonna be
Internet.
a 60-foot section road.
Yeah, just an elbow up and a run to get it out of there.
Do you need 2-inch PVC?
Yeah, it's fine. Even interduct if you have some of that. If we can ever pull fiber.
Are you running it?
Me?
my town.
Just gonna put that in.
Ryan and I will go out there and we'll just pull that.
Start twisting the fibers together.
Okay.
I'm confused.
Well, that woke everybody up. 26, we'll be in the dark.
I have one crazy question. So does the new lead, I know they worry about water consumption and stuff like that. Does that have any effect on irrigation?
Excluded.
It's excluded.
Yeah.
I'm doing some LBC projects and they don't exclude that.
Yeah, no, not at all.
And then on temporary heat, can we still use fossil for temporary heat or?
Wondering about that myself. I imagine you can, because, I doubt they have the ability to restrict, generators, as means and methods. It's the final project.
Okay, just wondering, I didn't want to guess into where it would lead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have.
That's enough. Motions and approvals.
Fine. Yeah.
So you need this motion to be read second and then roll call vote.
Yes.
Okay. Is it two motions or is it all one?
It's just one.
Just one motion. Yeah, it's just one motion.
Okay.
And it's basically just approving the project team to submit the 60% construction documents submittal to MSBA on behalf of the SBC.
Does this have to be verbatim? Because vote seems like the wrong verb.
Doesn't need to be. It's ultimately just approval.
So you move to make a motion, you don't vote to vote.
Yeah. It's whatever you want.
Okay.
As long as we can show in the meeting minutes that you guys blessed the submission, we're golden.
So you need the whole thing in principle. So the East Long Meadow School Building Committee has completed its review of the 60% construction documents submitted for the East Long Meadow High School project. The SBC votes to approve and authorize the project team to submit the 60% construction documents submitted to the MSBA for its review.
Second.
Yeah.
All right. So Greg moved, Ryan seconded.
Probably say I would move at the beginning of that fall. I would move that the East Long Meadow School Building Maybe that makes more sense.
Do over.
Got it.
Oh, I heard it.
It's it. Second.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second, any discussion? Folks online, any discussion, questions? Take that as a no. Okay, roll call vote, Mr. Crucial, he's with us now, right?
Yes.
Okay. I am a yes. Ms. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Belcher is absent, Mr. Fenny is absent. Ms. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Christensen,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
and Mr. Quimby.
Yes.
Yeses have it. All right, we can submit. Nice job, everybody.
Great.
Thank you. Oh, look at that. That's the end of the presentation from team. Do we have any communications update? Victoria, you're with us?
Hi, everyone. Not a big update. We've been doing our monthly construction updates to the website, and our third one will go out on this Friday. We haven't had any emails come in through our project email accounts, so assuming everyone in the community is happy.
There's one email which didn't come through the account, but Eric was good enough to answer it for me, and I will send it back out to the parent who asked. It was just around parking and connecting to the bike trail.
Okay, great.
I will send it.
Thank you. Yes, and we'll definitely note that the tennis courts are going offline in this one. And I think some progress photos would be nice to see on there as well. So, and if you look at the project website, it's updated. The FAQs are updated with some construction related questions. So that's all been updated there. Otherwise, nothing new from me.
Victoria, last year we had done National Night Out. As you may know, Mr. Mackey coordinates that. He was wondering if we wanted to participate again this year. I was thinking probably not, but I don't know if you had any different thoughts than that.
So I'd spoken with Gordon. I said, I don't think that we necessarily have a need for it. It would really be up to you all if you wanted to showcase some of the updates more, get out in the community more so than what we're doing on the website and through the flyers and all that stuff. Heading into last year, we wanted to get out, promote the project, heading into the vote, all of that good stuff. So I would say it's not needed, but
We go out once we start a project for more PR like that, or not necessarily needed?
Typically not, but it's case by case. So
good. Huh?
I just feel it's like, oh, I've got the vote. See, I mean,
I can go stand there. I don't know.
I'm willing
just to answer questions.
Yeah. You want to do it?
I'll do it.
All right.
What night is?
First Tuesday.
Excuse me. I was just saying we could put together another pamphlet just showing the construction logistics and schedule, and maybe a couple of FAQs on there. And I think that'd be a nice handout.
Basically, the one you're going to post tomorrow, we use that information and use that as our handout.
Yeah, pretty much. If you remember going up to the vote, we had those trifolds. We could do something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll work on developing that, and that's usually the first week of August. Is that right?
August
6th. Yeah.
August 6th. Okay.
We also have weekly drone orthos we've been doing through IT. So we're putting them in our GIS. I'm not sure how my GIS guy's sharing it out yet, but every week we do it. So we'll have those.
Jane okay with that?
Yeah, you guys gonna crash drones?
You're okay?
Don, you have room for us if we go up?
That be something through the TV.
Okay, thanks.
Once school starts again,
What?
you have pictures, and we just push it out for the students too.
Oh, we can. It's an automated flight. It takes like 400 pictures, and then it's just them off the phone.
All right. I don't know. That might calm your updates, Frank, but
I can always send out links too.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
Do we have, we scheduled the 28th meeting. Do we need to schedule something sooner in September, or do we need to wait on other logistics before we hone in another building committee meeting?
It's a good question.
Maybe wait
Could put a
to see when you
placeholder.
guys get numbers on.
Oh, yeah, for all,
Package.
maybe that's
Probably the next.
okay.
You say, is there a date that's currently?
So October 28th is, what was the date we just?
28th. It was October 28th, Monday.
October 28th, yeah, was to make sure for the October 29th, 90% submission. But that's the only one we solidified. I didn't know if we needed something.
Something
Would we need
interim.
An amendment approval in mid-September?
We will need, we'll get the bids off of that, the 27th set, right? So that's going to be mid to late August. We'll, review. We should probably, we can lay out a kind of timeline of the different approvals that we'll need.
Okay,
And then I think we can work with Steve and the group on if those different things need full committee, sub.
Yeah.
We need SBC, anything over 100,000. We need SBC.
That reminds me.
Yeah, so we'll, right, because it'll be basically, and in this site award, as we said, it'll be important to make a determination of, how likely it is we want to proceed with irrigation and turf and stuff. So,
okay.
we'll certainly,
That's on the alternate.
we'll need something with this group sometime
In September.
late August, early September,
Okay,
probably late August, early September. But we'll try and hone in on a couple
okay,
and circulate those.
okay.
You want to revisit, it wasn't in the presentation, sorry, that slipped through the cracks on me, but it is on the agenda. Approval Fontaine's amendment number 1 for the enabling work. I know I sent it out to the building committee, I believe a couple weeks ago or last week. And I know it's actually making the
Starting to get
signatures. I don't know if we need, because it is over the 100,000, I believe it needs to come to this committee for a vote. So if we could do that today.
Okay. Do you just want to review it for folks who haven't seen it? You don't have it in the presentation.
I don't have it in the presentation, unfortunately. Do you guys want to summarize it? I mean, overall, it includes basically it's the costs of the bids for Gagliarducci, Ducci, the site contractor, and Wayne J. Griffin, the electrical contractor, as well as some general conditions for Fontaine and some allowances and scope holes that we feel are going to be necessary just for the enabling package. So this is just that kind of first piece of the pie. And I know there's already some money allocated through Fontaine's contract with its town. So I think that Kim will just adjust to the number, to the 18 million after the approval today. I'm saying 18 million. I'll get the exact number for you. I'm sorry.
I have that.
You have it.
Yes.
The 18,534,663.
Yes.
There we go. You guys are quick.
One more time, 18.5.
18,534,663.
So Gordon, I just put that in the slide. If you wanted to refresh your connection, maybe we can.
I think I downloaded this.
Okay.
So the motion is to approve the 18.5.
663.
For Fontaine's GMP amendment number 1 for early enabling work.
So that's for Gagliarducci and for the electrical.
Correct. So that's just
happened to prepare the site.
correct. Yes. And so we will not to go too far down the road, but when Fontaine releases early release package number 2, we'll likely then need another amendment to this to their contract to account for the contractors we're bringing on board at that point.
Concrete, steel.
Correct. Yeah.
That. Okay.
And then again, probably at ERP 3, and then eventually once we get to December and we bid the rest of the project, we'll come to a full GMP probably in early January, mid-January.
So you need a motion to amend. So I'll move that we amend the Fontaine, the amount for Fontaine, the GNP number 1.
Early amendment number 1.
What?
Early amendment number 1.
No, it's not early amendment.
It's amendment number 1 for the early enabling work.
Enabling.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the amount of?
In the amount of $18,534,663.
Thank you. Yeah. Wow. That's quick. All right. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Online, any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Crucial,
Absolutely.
we'll take that as a yes. I'm a yes. Ms. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Page,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Hill,
Yes.
absent, Ms. LeBar,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Christensen,
Yes.
Ms. Collins,
Yes.
and Mr. Quimby.
Yes.
Okay, yeses have it. Amendment is passed. I do just want to say to that end, we did receive Fontaine's first payment application. So Pam, I believe the process will be to submit the pay app to you. It's been approved by, so Skanska and the project team, design team reviewed the application. We were okay with it. We approved it. It's been certified. I have copies now, so I can send you over a electronic copy.
Perfect.
Okay.
Then we direct it to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I think that covers all the approvals. We've done communications, upcoming meetings to be determined, other than the 28th.
So the one thing
October.
I want to try to schedule bi-weekly progress meetings. This is more the core project team, and I would assume that a couple of you would attend the meeting, so we're trying to pick a time and a day.
So in the summer, we can do Thursday mornings. That's fine. And when school year starts, traditionally for the last 14 years anyway, leadership team has met on Thursday morning. Sure. So that would be challenging to switch, because then we gear all our professional development that we do with the leadership team on.
I would say just avoid Thursdays just to start, because there's only a few weeks left in the summer. I mean, we got 5 weeks left.
But I think someone had trouble with.
Tuesdays are bad for Steve, I think. Is that true, Steve?
That is true, John. Thank you.
Mondays are open.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Is there a time when school starts back up? Are afternoons better for you guys? I know.
Mornings are fine. Yeah.
Wednesdays
are tough for us.
Yeah, you said that, right?
We used to do for accelerated repair. We used to do Friday mornings. Is Friday morning? They're not good.
We can start with Friday morning. We
It's cheery on a Friday.
We like to shoot for
Saturday,
the middle of the week.
Not as cheery on Saturday.
Yeah, we like to shoot for sometime middle week, because then you get the Monday to get with the subs and get all the kind of, then, if it's Tuesday or Wednesday, right, we can kind of get some answers and implement stuff. So I think Wednesday, we just have a conflict right now. So Friday would be fine, or Monday. And then as we get into it too, we can look at it in 6 more months and adjust.
Friday at 9.
Yeah, my only hesitation is that I think these early phases, the civils site team is going to want to be, these are OAC meetings, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Mondays and Fridays are the only days that are not great for them. Again, this focus is going to shift over time, but
How about Wednesday afternoon?
It's just hard.
Wednesday's no good.
Wednesdays are just bad.
How about Thursday afternoon for?
Thursdays are good.
It's just the next 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah, and then get the school year.
Maybe it becomes Wednesdays in
Yeah,
a couple months.
Thursday afternoons generally are open.
Yeah, as long as we can get something set for like the remainder of the summer, I'm confident we could work as a group on what works beyond
As long
that.
as you have at least one of us, right? We'll both try to be there as often as possible, but as long as you have Frank or me.
Yes, and I think you guys say, like in the OAC meeting, generally it's going to be kind of nuts and bolts construction stuff, submittals, and so a lot of times, like we'll have owner items like right at the front of the meeting, right? So safety, logistics, things that might impact like
Corey's fingerprint.
And so we structure it that way anyways, because a lot of times the OACs, they might go for 60 minutes, 80 minutes, and there might only be 10 minutes that's relevant to you guys. So I would say Thursday 1 for now. And that works for everybody. We reassess it in 5 or 6. We'll also try and structure it so that you're welcome to attend the whole thing, but we'll try and pack your, pieces and decisions into the beginning too.
Okay.
So that it doesn't turn into a hour and a half commitment every week.
We're
A lot of actionable stuff.
starting the
I would
August
like-
1, right?
Yeah, I'd like to start next week.
The Fontaine's providing lunch, so.
Next following week, I'm gone.
I'm not here next week.
I was thinking lobster rolls, but
Like a
Same
hot or cold,
hot, Connecticut
of course.
from hot surgery.
Somebody gonna send an invite out or should I put it on my?
Better send it.
I can put an invite out. The one thing I was going to say is we're working out of room 101 over there. So we do have internet and all of that. I can run the meeting virtually, but it would just be off my laptop. So if you can attend in person, that is definitely preferred.
Before I walk down the hall, yeah.
More so.
Brian, I'm just curious, would it be possible for us to borrow one of your fancy mobile projectors just for a little bit?
Today?
No, just for August 1, a couple weeks.
They actually have brand new 85-inch TVs coming in with stands.
I think I just put that on.
Interactive touchscreen.
All right. I'm just thinking about JWA is going to be here consistently, but if we have engineers who are distant, but you need answers or want to engage them, it might be easy to, have them come in that way as well.
Yeah, so I bought 3 mobile screens. You guys can grab one of those.
Why don't we just meet here, Derry?
Oh, I thought we were meeting in the.
Well, that's just what I said because that's the room we've been working out of. I don't know if this would be an option from this room to be able to connect to the screens maybe. And I don't know if we need to probably stay away from Don's gear, but
If you're on Thursday after.
and then we'll have the whole set.
The leadership team is in here on Thursday mornings and then the brief.
Oh, okay.
Great, great.
Superintendent cleans the tables and then we're good to go.
Dan.
Got it.
Sorry, I didn't realize that. Just trying to,
Right, so in this room,
But it was
the clock, Thursday to first.
Yep.
yeah.
Start.
Thursday.
And then when are we going to kind of make that decision with the trailers and the power as to whether we're going to run it off a generator?
I think I'll know more when we hear back from National Grid from the design. So we should.
That's going to happen before we're starting to bring kids into here and we're getting the boot, right?
Well, we're definitely going to send some trailers out to the site in
Regardless. Okay.
August so that we can move in there. And if we don't have power, then we'll
Handles.
So we figure about 2 more weeks without a trailer, roughly.
roughly.
Yeah, we're gonna drop them before school either way.
That's just what I
Just,
You just don't want National Grid to know that you've got backup.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea.
Get pushed down.
Worst comes to worst, if we need to drop a generator with them, we will.
Never know who's watching these meetings.
This is true. True.
Okay. Any other new business? I'll take a motion to adjourn. Wow, Frank. Motion and a second, any discussion? Need a roll call vote for this? Yeah.
Hi.
You call. Everyone's in favor. Anyone opposed to adjourning that way?
Well, you should call for the ayes though.
All in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Any notes?
Thank you. Nose.
There you
Have it. Thank you.